Welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. So, let me tell you about Julie, one of my friends. She's one of the most productive individuals I've ever met. This is how she begins her day. Every morning, she gets up around the same time. She puts on the outfit she chose the night before. She takes a sip of the coffee that had been brewing. While she was putting on her clothes, she takes out her pre-packaged lunch. Beats the traffic and arrives at the office on time 30 minutes before the rest of the group. Let's talk about Jim now. You have to admire him, but while Jim is getting things done, instead of acting, he spends far too much time reacting. This is how he starts his day. He gets out of bed, checks his phone, and jumps into the shower. Assembles whatever clothing he can find, has no time for coffee or breakfast. Spends time stuck in traffic and eventually arrives. Around the same time as everyone else, I arrive at the office. Julie, now that she's perfected her routine, feels energized and ready to go. For whatever the day may bring. Jim, on the other hand, is just hoping to get through the day. This is why having a set of routines is so important. They're not just for the mornings, either. You'll be able to accomplish more once you've established a routine. And leave room for spontaneity, as well as taking on new challenges. Establishing excellent routines is also important. That's exactly what I'll teach you. In this course, you will learn how to do it. For over a decade, I've been focusing on personal productivity and time management. I'll start by explaining what I mean in this course. The elements of a successful routine. I'll share my strategies with you. This will assist you in developing better routines. Finally, I'll provide you with the necessary tools to keep track of and troubleshoot any routines you set up at the end of the day. It's all about you. Routines are the foundation of a strong framework. Frameworks, on the other hand, promote freedom. So, if you're ready to be more independent, let's go. You're in the right place. When you first start putting together a routine, it's easy to get carried away. You must determine which tasks you can actually add, in the first place, to the routine. This isn't as simple as it appears. However, I have a 3-step procedure that will assist you. The issue with the number of tasks we have to complete is that there are so many, and it's difficult for us to keep up. Even think about what we could add to a routine. Some of the tasks that we must or desire to complete have already been written, others are just ideas we have in our heads. That is a part of the issue. We must find a solution to lay out all of these responsibilities in order for us to assess them and see which ones we can incorporate into our daily routine and which ones we won't be able to. The 3-step procedure is outlined below. That has aided me in figuring out the things I can incorporate into a routine. Step 1 is to make a list of the daily tasks you are currently performing. Take a sheet of paper and jot down all of your responsibilities that you're aware you should do on a regular basis. These tasks can range from the monumental to the insignificant. A daily check-in with your boss is one example. Flossing your teeth is another excellent example. Anything that needs to be done on a regular basis, this is something that should be added to the list. Step 2 is to jot down any additional responsibilities you want to do something more frequently that you aren't doing right now. You have a list of tasks that you know you need or want to complete that you haven't been able to fit in. Routines can assist you in this. However, only if you are able to get those tasks in front of you, so you can see them and determine where they should go. So, whatever tasks you require or desire, this list should include activities that you haven't been doing on a regular basis. If you've already written down some of these tasks, now is the time to put them all together. Simply highlight them in some way in step 1. Flossing your teeth could be one of those chores. What role will routines play in these tasks? Is equally, if not more, impressive than the tasks you jotted down in step 1. Step 3 is to assign a value to each of these tasks. In order of importance and need, it's now time to give these tasks some sort of precedence. The author of Getting Things Done, David Allen, has stated that you are capable of accomplishing anything. You can't, however, do everything. Determine which tasks you consider to be the most important. Out of all the tasks on both lists, the most important is those are the ones you'll have to make room for. First and foremost, in a routine. All of these tasks have red boxes around them. Whether they must be completed on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, or in a different cadence, I want to make sure they don't get lost in the shuffle. So those are the ones I want to double check. That I try to incorporate into my daily routine as soon as possible. Before you can start creating routines that matter, there are a few things you need to do first. You must determine which tasks can be incorporated into routines. By following the 3 steps I've outlined, you'll be able to make a list of all the things you do on a daily basis right now. Make a list of any additional tasks you'd like to do more frequently, that you are not currently doing, and then putting those tasks in order of importance and need, you can begin to establish more effective routines. Remember that being more productive with your time is a good thing. It's not about cramming as much as you can into your day. It's all about making the best use of your time. And at the appropriate time, once you've identified all of the tasks, you can move on to the next step that you require or wish to incorporate into your routines. Now you must decide where to place those routines. And you'll have to filter them out some of your life's clamor to figure out where those routines might be useful. In my experience, a lot of what is at stake is dependent on how good you are at filtering determines how productive you are. Filtering allows you to separate data so that you can execute effectively, remove friction, and gives you the clarity you need to concentrate and keep moving forward. Filtering routine tasks to help you make better decisions. You'll be able to craft better if you work around those tasks. Routines that are better and more daring. I've got a way for you to accomplish it. Here are the 2 things you must consider so that you can filter your usual duties effectively. First and foremost, take a look at your to-do list. Most people use a to-do list to keep track of their tasks. Then you'll discover that there are numerous options. Among the things that matter, this isn't one of them. Now, I'm not saying that those things that don't matter aren't important. Don't have to be done in the end, but what I'm proposing is that you double-check everything. That the things that really important take precedence over them. Look through your to-do list for those tasks. Routine chores that you've identified, and in some way highlight them. You can flag or tag them if you're using a digital tool. If you're a paper planner user, use a different color ink or a different identifier. However, the bottom line is that you must be able to take a look at your to-do list and notice some commonplace tasks swiftly, and without difficulty. Second, have a glance at your calendar. After you've completed your to-do list, you'll want to check your calendar, because you're trying to figure out where you'll be able to fit those mundane chores. Make a note of any open slots on your calendar. That'd be perfect for a routine. Then schedule time chunks in your calendar. Where will those routines go? You don't have to name those time blocks just yet. However, you must isolate them. You'd like to be able to see your calendar and swiftly determine what routines should be followed at what hours of the day. For instance, between 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. My morning routine is scheduled on my calendar. For my nightly regimen, I do the same thing, which runs from 10:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. I don't want you to put any specific tasks on the board, neither inside nor outside of these usual blocks. The calendar should serve as the catalyst in order for you to go to your to-do list or a different checklist. This is where the routine's details will be kept. There are several more simple things you may take right now. Designating the blocks in your calendar, for example, following the tags that you may have created, for instance, in your to-do list app. Those calendar blocks can even be color-coded to match the color of the ink you're using in your planner on paper. Finally, you must filter out all of the background noise. And after you've gone over your to-do list with calendar, you can isolate the tasks that have been classified as routine. Anything that doesn't fit into a routine is filtered away. Keep in mind that you must first filter before moving further. Putting in place routines can help you a lot. Routines, on the other hand, require something from you in return. They don't require much, but if you aren't prepared, willing to provide them with what they require, they won't be able to provide you with excellent service. I recall seeing a talk given by a well-known figure. You may recognize British comedian John Cleese from Monty Python. He was explaining two things to the audience. That it is necessary for creativity to flourish. As I was watching this presentation, I thought to myself, I understood that being creative isn't everything. That necessitated the acquisition of these two items. Routines work in the same way. After putting both of these into practice, I discovered that thanks to my routines that made them significantly more effective, they worked harder than they had ever worked before. To me, it seemed self-evident. I gave the routines what they needed after I gave them what they needed. But it wasn't until I realized it that I realized it. That those were the only two items they required. They didn't work quite as well. So, enough with the teasing. The two items are as follows: routines need from you so that they can serve you better. The first consideration is the passage of time. Routines will be unable to function without time. They'll take some time to sink in. Furthermore, certain processes will take longer than others. To make a name for oneself, that isn't to say that you should leave a routine unchecked. Routines must be in the proper location. To do their tasks, you do, however, need to set some limits for them. That is why I advise you to turn off your computer. A set amount of time for your daily routines, regardless of the type of routine. In this place, you can no longer does, however, imply that you must be patient. If you've put in the effort to develop a routine, it seems to reason that if done correctly, that you will give it the time it requires to establish itself. Giving a routine is a solid rule of thumb. The same amount of time as it takes to form a habit, it will take 30 days to establish yourself. Whether you do the routine on a regular basis or not, giving a routine, or even weekly, a month to do everything it needs to for you is a reasonable amount of time to allow before you begin troubleshooting it. Second, there's the issue of room. If your daily habits aren't giving you enough breathing room, they won't be able to do anything then. Neither of these things are required of them. Mix together space and time. The amount of time it takes up on your calendar. It's not the same for you to finish a routine. Then the time it takes to perform a routine for it to become a part of your daily routine. So, how do you figure out how much room to provide a routine? So, there's that magical number of 30. Is a wonderful rule to remember once more. Allow 30 minutes for your routine to breathe. To complete the task at hand, it also entails putting together routines. Much may be crammed into a 30-minute slot. You don't want your routine to be disrupted. According to Parkinson's law, which states that a regular will grow to fit the time allotted to it, even if it does not necessitate a significant amount of time. 30 minutes is a reasonable amount of time to set aside. It's cozy enough for you to feel at ease. As though it isn't taking up too much room, however, it is not so little that you feel rushed. While attempting to carry out the routine until its conclusion, whenever I've had a setback with a routine, usually, it's because I didn't give it to you. The time and space that it required, it need both. If a routine takes too long, however, if there isn't enough room, it won't be effective. Since you'll be pressed for time to finish it. Also, if a routine takes up too much room, if there isn't enough time, it will take up space. That it does not have to be filled. You'll notice that it's taking up space on your calendar. That you could use for something else after that. You'll be able to remove it from your workflow. So give your new habits 30 days to settle in. And set out 30 minutes for each of your routines. Put it in your calendar. Do those two things, and your daily routines will improve. Will be of much greater assistance to you. The concept behind it, the notion of not breaking the chain, Jerry Seinfeld popularized it, is to perform something specific every day, and make sure you continue to work on it every day so that the chain does not break. It does not, however, have to be so rigid. As you can see, the don't break the chain strategy can be tweaked to work in accordance with your requirements. You also don't have to make any concessions. The approach's integrity in the process. Here are 3 options for adoption. The approach of not breaking the chain so that you can develop routines with it. First and foremost, build yourself up such that certain habits become automatic. It is only necessary to complete certain tasks on specific days. For instance, I don't go to the gym every day. Thursdays are my day off. So my exercise chain is 6 days long. On Thursdays, there is a break. However, I do not believe this to be a break in the chain. Because it's a regular pause that's understandable. The issue arises when you begin moving the break around. When you observe the chain being broken, you'll know it's time to act. Various different locations, then you'll consider it broken unconsciously. So, what's next? Either that, or you'll abandon the ritual entirely. Alternatively, you might berate yourself for breaking the bond. So, if you're going to work on something on a regular basis, such as working out or writing a book or something that necessitates consistent, measured progress, make a schedule for the days ahead. You make a plan to achieve that goal, and then stick to it. Number 2, try it out on something little. Rather than something large, Seinfeld employs this strategy to ensure that every day he writes something. You may, however, use it for anything basic that you want to start doing every day, such as flossing or taking a lunch break from your desk. Instead than eating while sitting at it, you might be tempted to try this method now. With a major announcement right away, however, do not do so. Start with a simple project. Once you've had some success with the lesser tasks, you can go on to the bigger ones. After that, you can start using it with the larger ones. Keep in mind number 3. Chains can also have variable time intervals. Every week, for example, I meet up with my friend Jim for coffee. This is something we do on a weekly basis. There are only a few exceptions. These sessions allow me to relax and decompress. It's valuable to me because it helps me recalibrate for the days ahead. Every time we have to miss one, we are disappointed. It confuses me a little bit. As a result, I don't want to break the chain. Unless there's a compelling cause to do so, Jim and I both make it a point to inform each other. We've planned ahead of time enough that it won't throw us off as much. Taking the approach of don't break the chain is one of the most effective methods for establishing routines. The key, though, is to ensure that each chain is value. Because it'll be the last thing you want to do is to destroy anything valuable. Consider the following scenario. You've just crawled back into bed. For what you hope to be a restful night's sleep, you close your eyes and try to sleep. However, it isn't working. Today's thoughts whirl about in your head, in addition to everything you have planned for tomorrow, and then there were the days after that. It doesn't have to be that way, though. You won't be able to start tomorrow if you start now. You see, you don't only require to bring your day to a close before retiring to bed, it's time to move on to the next one. The secret to doing so without having to worry about tomorrow's wait is to plan ahead. The thought of starting the next day is on your mind as you try to sleep before the present one is closed. Here are 3 things you can do tonight to get ready for tomorrow. Step 1 is to go over your to-do list. You must ensure that all loops have been closed for the day and relocated all of our belongings. This needs to be moved into the future. In essence, you must recalibrate. Both the day that is about to come to a close do the same for the rest of the day, or even the next few days. So, at the end of the day, go over your to-do list. It'll make a significant difference. Step 2 is to consider the major goals you've identified. Should concentrate on the following day, and then write them down. This is what I do, and then I put the paper near my computer. I've turned it upside down so I can't see the contents. Of course, I'll flip the page around the next morning. I'm only going to jot down 3 critical tasks. All of that information will come from my to-do list. I'm going to shut it down for the day. This is why following the first step is so important. So, once again, take a look at the overall picture. That you've decided to concentrate on the following day. After that, jot down your ideas. Write a journal entry in the 3rd step. Now, I understand that this may appear to be a superfluous step. Taking into account what you perform in the second phase, however, keeping a journal of your ideas and feelings can be beneficial. On the eve of the day's conclusion, it's also not necessary for your diary entry to be lengthy. It only requires a few short phrases or bullet points. To assist you in reliving the events of the day, I'm doing this to make sure I don't forget anything. I'm going to use any number of the photographs I've taken. Over the course of a day, I used my smartphone to utilize them as a starting point for my entry. You might want to give it a shot, especially if you believe your journaling is going nowhere to be a difficult task for you. As a result, make certain that you complete this final step. I know that writing in a journal allows me to relax and unwind, to fall asleep more quickly than anything else. If you need to clear your mind before going to bed, and get a head start on what you truly require and intend to do the next day, then you must not only finish today on a high note, but you must also finish tomorrow on a high note. However, you must begin tomorrow. As a part of the daily roundup, you must, in fact, begin tomorrow night. So start doing it right now. If you want to create effective routines, it will make a long-term effect in your life. The best place to begin, then, is with the behaviors you want to include into your daily routine. When you've worked that out, move on to the next step. Then it's time to start piling those habits on top of each other into a tried and true routine. According to Benjamin Franklin, in most cases, your net value to the rest of the world is calculated by what's left after your undesirable behaviors have been removed from your excellent ones. When you use your habits to help you develop a better life, it's called habit stacking. As well as developing healthy and hearty routines, you produce a multiplicative impact. For all of those healthy habits to coexist and thrive from there, you can gain traction. And you'll be able to go on with the rest of your day that aren't as common as others, with a sense of achievement and safety that has a lot of value. With that in mind, consider the following 3 suggestions. When stacking habits, you can use this. First and foremost, start small. Keep the number of habits you're stacking to a minimum. To a maximum of 3 per regimen. For instance, my initial morning regimen included the following: rather than sipping a glass of water, make a shake, and 15 minutes spent reading to start my day. I use my favorite RSS feeds. The following 3 things made up my nighttime routine. I'm going to write in my journal and make my morning shake. Following that, I floss and brush my teeth. Choose no more than 3 tasks at a time in each habit stack to finish. Then once they've established themselves from there, you can add more. Keep things simple. Number 2. Make it a point to practice each of these habits on a regular basis. Making habits atomic has been written about by James Clear. And when you're accumulating bad habits with the goal of developing and building routines, that is something you must remember. The most straightforward method is to provide a time increment to a task so that you can keep track of it. How long should you spend on something more difficult? Dealing with email, for example, appears to be more difficult. Rather than dealing with mails for 15 minutes, it's easier to meditate for 5 minutes than it is to meditate for an hour. Then realizing that all you have to do is meditate. When stacking habits, keep it basic, so that you can see them all the way through. Strive for steadiness as number 3. This is linked to the previous point, based on what I've already told you, because it's easier to stack and maintain habits when they're calm and steady. Focus on the things that don't change, according to Jeff Bezos. And it is excellent advice when it comes to layering habits on top of one another, so that you can get into a routine. I'm aware that I'll always have to cope with something. With email, writing, and physical activity, those are excellent locations for me to investigate. For stacking behaviors that are stable, what are the habits you've identified as needing to be improved? Isn't it true that this will never change? Stack those habits on top of everything else, because of their steadfastness will assist them in gaining traction. Why? Because they can be stacked indefinitely. Routines are really useful. It's basically a bunch of bad habits piled on top of each other. When you begin at that level, it is the base level. On the origins of routines, then you may create routines that are both effective and efficient. As a result, start small and keep things simple. and stack the habits that have proven to be the most reliable. When crafting routines, following through on those 3 suggestions will pay off. Every day from now on, you can have all the good intentions you want to establish and maintain your routines. However, there are situations when we require assistance. Setting anything up can provide that assistance in advance to assist us in staying on track. Or by noticing when we are stumbling, even a little help can make a big difference. This is where establishing accountability comes in. Green Lantern is one of my favorite superheroes. Willpower is the source of power for this superhero. However, during the course of a day, willpower is exhausted. As well as at various degrees depending on what you're doing throughout the day, you get a boost from accountability. A boost that willpower alone cannot provide, because it's coming from somewhere else. You can also utilize accountability to make certain things happen, that you are able to accomplish what you require and desire. These are 3 methods for establishing accountability. For your daily routines, the first is electronic reminders. There are numerous apps and devices available. This can assist you in sticking to your program. A basic calendar app could be used to serve as a reminder when it's time to begin a habit. You could utilize a specially built app to take care of reminders to do it. Amazon's Echo and Google Home are examples of smart devices. You can also get voice reminders for specific routines. You'll need to devote some effort to setting these up. However, once that is completed, you can leave the rest to technology. Apart from the actual routines, that is all up to you. Now, if you want to make this work, follow these steps. I recommend that you begin with one routine. To begin, there will be one electronic reminder. And then expand from there. Number 2, have a companion who will hold you accountable. You can't always do it on your own. Whether you ask a friend in person or over the phone, declare your aim to keep to a social media habit, or use a web-based service. This helps you stay on track with your daily routine. Being held accountable in some way, it's a wise decision to look outside of oneself. This is especially true if you're attempting to take on a new challenge, something you've never done before. With consistency, initiatives exist for a reason. Being aware of the fact that one or more people are going to hold you responsible can be a very effective motivator. Using that strength to develop routines is a brilliant move. Forced constraints are number 3. Constraints can be imposed in a variety of ways. There are computerized technologies that can help reduce your options, what you can do with your devices, and when you can do it. They're also handy if you're attempting to learn something new. Should avoid using social media, for example, outside of a set period of time. These are the kinds of limits I utilize to maintain my concentration on my writing every day for a specified period of time. The only apps I'm allowed to use are those that are connected. I'm going to get back to the writing I need to do. There were no web browsers, social media, or email. Locations can sometimes be a stifling restraint. You can create routines that will be completed only when you're in certain places. If that's what you need to do, go ahead and do it. To ensure that they are completed, when you put procedures in place to enforce discipline, you get results. You gain more traction for those projects you have a strong desire to do. Tasks found in your daily routines, for example. Whether you utilize electronic reminders or paper-based reminders, a partner in responsibility, or some other type of coercion, you're ensuring that your daily habits have a better chance of surviving. Even better, when you combine any or all of these methods, the result is even better. To establish a system of accountability, you're increasing your chances of success. It's not always easy to figure out what's going on. What things should be included in a daily routine, especially if you have a wide range of responsibilities that you do on a regular basis. Well, I've discovered a better technique to assist you in figuring it out. How to group work in an orderly and painless manner. Every action you do necessitates the completion of a form. It will take you out of mode to finish it. Those modes are frequently concealed inside the task's particulars, as well as your level of familiarity with the job. Those elements that are hidden can be found With a little more investigation, and once you've located them, you'll be able to have access to a really useful strategy to assist you in developing and improving your routines. These are what I refer to as mode-based routines. Since they are determined by a single factor, they have a lot in common. To complete each task, use the same mode. Here are 3 straightforward and efficient types. You can employ a variety of mode-based routines. To develop and improve routines, first and foremost, time-based, routine chores. This is how it works. Take on all of the tasks that you believe are necessary. Will take the same amount of time for you to finish, then put them in a group. For instance, if you have 6 chores to complete, that will take you no more than 5 minutes to complete. After that, group them together. You may then slip this 5-minute task program in after that into whatever 30-minute gap you happen to come across in a specific day on your calendar. Next Wednesday, do you have 30 minutes between meetings? Put that procedure in the time slot that's open. Check to see if you have 30 minutes left at the end of the day. And don't want to dive too deep into anything? Put that routine in there as well. The advantage of employing this strategy is that you are not required to do so consistently at the same time of day. All you have to do is look for periods of time to allocate it on a daily basis. The second type of task is one that requires a lot of energy and is done on a regular basis. These work in the same way as time-based procedures do. You, on the other hand, are grouping chores by the amount of energy required to finish them. The crucial distinction is that there should actually be one. There should only be 2 energy levels, high and low. Regular or usual energy is insufficient in isolating duties. It's preferable to switch to another mode if you are unsure if an activity requires high or little energy. Furthermore, you will not be able to group items, combining too many high-energy things into a routine. Since that level of energy is unsustainable over a long period of time, I recommend that you concentrate your routine-building efforts incorporating low-energy tasks into your day. When you have a low level of energy, that way, you'll be able to make the most of your time. By doing optimum duties when you're exhausted or worn out, you may rest assured that you will be satisfied. By the time you've completed each of these low-intensity workouts, activity-based, routine duties are number 3. There's a pattern to these suggestions, don't you think? However, you will now group your tasks based on the type of activities they necessitate. Have a lot of research done on a regular basis, or do you have some reading to do? Make an activity-based regimen out of those tasks. Do you need to make phone calls on a frequent basis? Take each call and write it down as a call, and then put them in a group. Thus you can finish them all in one go. Creating a routine for your routine removes friction and encourages flow. It enables you to perform at your peak when it comes to completing those responsibilities. There isn't any task switching or anything. You're merely engaging in one form of activity, as well as making progress at the same time. I'm working in a few other places. Routines based on modes can be employed at any moment, and any or all of the types I've specified are acceptable. In some situations, one will be more effective than the other. However, if you have all of them at your disposal, organizing jobs into routines based on time, energy, and complexity, you will have more control over the activity type. You have control over those responsibilities and your time. Routine has been a part of your life for a long time, and then it starts all of a sudden to develop fissures in the foundation. It is no longer as effective or efficient as it once was. What are your options for resolving the issue? What do you do first? So, let's begin with 3 basic questions. A routine, like anything else, develops with time, can get stale and worn out. This can happen for a variety of reasons. Rather than pondering why the routine is failing, we frequently leave our daily routines and revert to our old ways. Even if the routine is eliminated will be of use to us in the short term, doing so without first troubleshooting in the long run, it hurts us even more. Routines have fallen by the wayside for me on numerous occasions. But before I made any adjustments or dropped them altogether, I had to think about it. I had 3 questions for her. Here are the answers to those 3 questions. One's things you might consider asking yourself when you believe a regimen is no longer effective. First and foremost, is this routine too broad? It's tough to follow a routine that's too wide. Why? Because either completing the routine or completing the routine takes too long. Or to determine what should be included in the routine. For instance, if exercising is a part of your morning routine, then it's possible that's too wide. You won't know what exercise to perform because you won't know what to do. I'm aware that I require more information in relation to such matters so that I don't forget to finish my exercise. So, if a routine has any tasks in it that are in fact bigger than tasks, it's more than likely that they're projects. Then that might be the case. That the routine is breaking down, you'll want to break those jobs down into smaller chunks. In order to make the routine more manageable. Second, is this procedure too restricted? You may have oversimplified your routine at times. If you have too much information, then you can wind up making something. There are too many limits in the routine. Let's return to the exercise example. If going to the gym is part of your daily routine, your gym, however, is closed for the day. Maybe you're on your way somewhere and you're not even close to the gym you'd go to. This may cause some turbulence in your daily routine. You need to concentrate more on the task or activity that needs to happen in this case, rather than a precise area. That way, you'll be able to finish that part of your workout without encountering any difficulties along the way. So look for what I refer to as the Goldilocks factor. You don't want anything that's too big or too small. You want to figure out exactly what you need. Is this routine still valid? Number 3. This is the most difficult question to answer. Because it may necessitate the routine's abolition, however, it is a vital question to ask. Routines aren't always important. It's possible that this is due to a shift in circumstances. As if starting a new job, it's critical to maintain routines wherever you travel. However, if the procedure contains too many changes, when there is a change, the routine may need to be changed or abandoned at that point. So, if the routine isn't working anymore, it must then be changed or removed. But keep in mind that just because one regimen isn't working any longer doesn't mean another isn't. This isn't to say that none of the routines will function. It's critical to keep that distinction in mind. For any routine that has become obsolete, you should have a lot of them that are more than acceptable. These are, in fact, necessary. Life moves at a breakneck pace. When a habit doesn't seem to be serving us anymore, stuff's a lot easier to get rid of it than it is to assess it, to check if it can be used in a different way, or even to figure out what the problem is in the first place. Troubleshooting your routines, on the other hand, is a must. Is an important aspect of developing better routines because every routine you create will teach you something. So, the next time you get that feeling, remember this. That a routine isn't serving you well, stop and think about those 3 questions for a moment. Isn't this routine a little too broad? Is this routine too restrictive? Is this procedure still applicable? Your routines will be maintained if you know the answers to those inquiries. And you're heading in the correct direction. What is measured will be managed. This is a famous Peter Drucker quote. Also, if you want to be certain that your habits are beneficial to you, then you'll need a technique to quantify them. It doesn't have to be difficult to keep track of your routines. In fact, I've got 3 options for you to choose from. That will take you very little time. One of the advantages of keeping track of your routines is that to feel a sense of achievement that you're actually putting them to good use. Another advantage is that you can observe the results that your daily routines have on you and your life. Investing a few minutes every day to use one of the tracking methods listed below will go a long way in assisting you and your routines. Here are 3 methods for keeping track of your routines. The routine checklist is number 1. To make certain that each step of a process has been performed. Simply, if individuals find checklists useful, pilots and surgeons, for example, if that's the case, they'll be for you as well. Take one of your routines, in my opinion. Then jot down each stage of the procedure. No stone should be left unturned. Make your calculations as precise as possible. Make a checklist out of that list. Leaving yourself spaces to either check off or cross off the boxes is a good idea. Alternatively, draw a straight line through it. When you've finished a section of the routine, that should be your master copy, so that you can tweak it if necessary. While continuing to make copies for future usage after that, make one copy. Every day, make a copy of that routine checklist and use it. When you go through the motions of the routine, you should be confident that you've performed all of the steps. With self-assurance. Confidence generates competence, and competence breeds confidence. Competence, on the other hand, leads to mastery. Number 2, keep track of your days. I'm going to get a little dark here, so bear with me. However, there is a valid reason for this. Do you recall viewing classic movies or cartoons as a child? A place in a prison cell where someone would tick off the days for which they were imprisoned? They'd hit you with a rock or some other hard object. A wall with 4 straight lines carved onto it, a 5th horizontal line through those, and a 6th vertical line through those. When they've completed a 5-day cycle, it's possible for you to accomplish the same thing. For keeping track of your daily activities, if a checklist isn't your thing, there are other options. Then have a look at this strategy. Take a blank sheet of paper and write on it. And make a note of the routine's name, beginning at the top of the page, as well as the date on which you began this practice. That date, hopefully, will be today. Then, for each day that you perform the routine, add to your total. Make a vertical line that isn't too long. Draw a short horizontal line every 6th day. 4 times through those vertical lines after that, make a gap. Even if you miss a day, repeat the process. You're erecting a wall of days that have been noted. That you've finished your workout, after seeing that, in contrast to the inmate in his cell, is absolutely liberating. The 3rd step is to keep a journal. I'm a firm believer in the advantages of journaling. If you've been seeking for a reason, look no further. Or material for your journal, one of the things you can do is keep track of your routines. One of the most effective ways to accomplish so, all you need is a digital or paper journal to get started. To keep track of the procedures you've followed on a regular basis, it's fine if you miss a routine now and again. Simply write down why you missed that particular routine. If anything, the tale about why you missed that routine is interesting. Can assist you in developing better routines in the future. You don't even have to be creative with your writing. Just be honest with yourself about whether or not you succeeded, or failed to follow the pattern or protocols. That is all there is to it. Anything else you accomplish is a bonus. If you wish to keep track of your schedules, then you'll need to take measurements. Choosing any or all of the recommendations I've made will enable you to accomplish exactly that. Tracking your routines can teach you a lot. It does not have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be time-consuming. However, if you devote effort to keeping track of your routines, you will reap the benefits. They will transport you further and more quickly. This is exactly what a well-designed routine is supposed to accomplish. When it comes to creating routines, it's ideal to have them so you can set them up and then forget about them. You want to make them in such a way that they can be useful, so deeply ingrained in your psyche, so you don't even have to think about doing them. They should be as close to automatic as possible. That is why it is crucial that you make your procedures as future-proof as feasible. People abandoning routines for a variety of reasons. They're being built as quickly as they can. This is due to the fact that they come into contact with areas of friction that they were not expecting while you were originally creating the routine. They didn't consider how long the routine would last in the weeks, months, and years ahead, let alone prosper. Creating a routine that will last a lifetime is crucial since it aids in the development of trust. Routines have a lot of power. The best type of power is the kind that lasts. Here are 3 strategies to make your habits future-proof, such that they have the greatest possible lasting power. First and foremost, make your procedures portable. Austin Kleon, an author, has talked on how to make your routines more effective As lightweight as feasible, this implies that the routines should be actionable. Wherever you happen to be, this may necessitate the modification of an activity so that it can be included into a routine. For instance, if you want to ensure that you work out regularly, every day, but there will be times when you can't, where you'll be traveling, then you should consider purchasing some portable equipment. Should bring with you on your travels. I actually made it a point to start keeping a journal. Rather than writing on paper, I use my phone. That's because I knew my phone. They didn't consider how long the routine would last. In the weeks, months, and years ahead, let alone prosper. Creating a routine that will last a lifetime is crucial since it aids in the development of trust. Routines have a lot of power. The best type of power is the kind that lasts. Here are 3 strategies to make your habits future-proof, such that they have the greatest possible lasting power. First and foremost, make your procedures portable. Austin Kleon, an author, has talked on how to make your routines more effective. As lightweight as feasible, this implies that the routines should be actionable. Wherever you happen to be, this may necessitate the modification of an activity so that it can be included into a routine. For instance, if you want to ensure that you work out regularly, every day, but there will be times when you can't, where you'll be traveling, then you should consider purchasing some portable equipment. Should bring with you on your travels. I actually made it a point to start keeping a journal. Rather than writing on paper, I use my phone. That's because I knew my phone was going to be with me everywhere I went. I couldn't promise that my paper journal would be either. When you're adding elements to a routine, be sure they're in the right order. You must ensure that they are transportable in order for the entire routine to be portable. Second, reduce the intensity of your workout. Make things as simple as possible. Less is more. I'd prefer to have 3 or 4 routines that I keep track of during the day, 3 or 4 steps rather than 1 or 2 that need 7 or 8 steps to finish. That way, there's less room for error. My morning regimen consisted of simply 3 steps at first. I've never increased the number of steps by more than 5. My nighttime routine is the same way. The easier a schedule is to follow, the better. The more it stands the test of time, the better. Routinely routinize is number 3. That may seem unusual, but bear with me. The more routines you set, the better. The higher your chances of keeping them alive will be. Routines are something you do on a regular basis. As a result, it's easy to keep doing things. This can be accomplished in a number of ways. Make a few routines that you stick to on a regular basis, or go all in on a few of them on which you are adamant. Take, for example, your nighttime and morning routines. You'll discover that by doing so, you'll be able to, in any case, you'll wind up with more routines. And once you've established that routines are effective for you, then you'll see how much more freedom they give you. As with whatever you desire to accomplish on a regular basis, you must lay a solid foundation. If you desire a routine that will last a long time, by making your routines as portable as feasible, you can save time and money. Reducing things to their most basic components, after that, search for other tasks you can automate. You'll do more than merely future-proof your habits. You'll be constructing a better future for yourself. As you can see, there's a lot going on. Routines in the morning and evening are only the beginning of the benefits that routines can have on your productivity. Routines can be created that can be applied over a longer period of time. You now have all of the plans and tactics you require to create better routines than before. However, there's more for you to discover. When it comes to routines, I'm a stickler. Here are some more resources for you to consider. Must look into when it comes to creating and developing routines. My morning routine is a fantastic resource to gather ideas and strategies to establish a more effective morning routine, as well as how you can incorporate some of their everyday traditions into your life. But what I enjoy about it is that it shows you how to do it. How well-known people plan their days, and how they spend their days on a daily or frequent basis. I've always believed that frameworks promote freedom. Routines are the foundation of a strong framework. I'm overjoyed that you completed this course. I'd like to continue our discussion with you. Give each routine exactly what it needs. And you'll soon be able to better plan your time and make the freedom you deserve a reality. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.